It is now time for the Port Podcast.
In 3, 2, 1, we are rolling. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Port Podcast. We have Tracy Bell finally here on the Port Podcast from the Chamber, and we are so excited. This one has been highly demanded, highly anticipated, so we're so excited and thankful that you've been able to come on the show today.
I am thrilled for the chance to be here and appreciative to have a good conversation.
So I want to start it off. I know Tracy. If you don't know Tracy, you're going to get to know her really fast and really well now. Tracy lives, breathes, your ethos is business and caring about other people, caring about how things get to table, how they are comprehended by people. And I've always really appreciated about you. Can you talk to us a little bit about who you are and how you became the CEO of the Chamber?
Yeah, for sure. So I realized as I was looking back that my career was sort of divided into 3 parts. I did 7 years in media as a television reporter and videographer. I did 7 years working in public affairs and corporate communications for an emergency services provider. And then we had a health scare in our family. And for my most recent 7 years, I co-founded and ran a company called Millennia Tea. We worked with small-scale farmers in the mountains in central Sri Lanka to pick, wash, and flash freeze organic tea leaves and share the mighty tea plant with people in its sort of purest and most naturally powerful format. We were in about 700 grocery stores from coast to coast, wound down operations at that company earlier this year. To get at the core of your question, my core value as a human is to be helpful. And right. You do the deep introspective work when you close something like a startup that played a really large role in your identity, and that had incredible potential to help people on a global scale. And so my sort of purpose as a human is to be a lived example of a life well lived, however that means as I roll along. So as I did that work, I knew that I wanted to be able to continue to be helpful, and business, entrepreneurship, innovation, building things is really what lights me up. So the role at the Chamber, the timing was pretty synchronistic. And so I leaped into this role and have been lit up ever since. Started with the Chamber March of 2024 this year, and it's been a few months.
Applause for that.
I love the button.
She is not the new girl, everyone. We're 5 months in. We are thriving. We are breaking records at the Chamber.
It's been so... In business, momentum is the name of the game, right?
True.
And it's been fun to watch some of the early momentum this year. 150 new members and counting so far this year. And that is the same number as the Chamber had in the 10 preceding years combined.
Sorry, I'm doing it on screen. High five.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
Yeah, I think we need another button.
And
that's unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is.
The fun part, so we've got a small and mighty team at the Chamber, and the fun part of that is everyone cares and is competent and committed to the work. And so I'm a communicator, if you will, if you look at my background. And so just getting out, telling our story, trying to reengage the community, things happen over the pandemic. And so it's a moment of revitalization or a moment of inflection with our organization and trying to reimagine who we are, who we serve, and how we do that. Being consultative in the process has meant that people have re-engaged with the organization in a way that is super encouraging.
So I'm a firm believer momentum doesn't happen by accident, because if it did, it would have already happened. So what has been your strategy? What are some of the tools you've been employing to help try to build that momentum?
So they might sound soft, but the tool of listening and reflecting what you hear, and asking for help has been pretty transformative for me, saying, look, we're looking to grow and deliver real world value. So in order to do that, we need to know what the need is. And so asking for help, people have been willing to put their hand up to help.
Right.
If you ask and you show them that you will do something, that's not in vain, right? That you're gonna do something with their time that they give you, because that's our most valuable asset.
Sure.
I just think it's, I got to bring it back because, you know, I've lived in St. John my entire life. I've been a member of the chamber, and I've worked with the chamber for a multitude of years, and I'm not biased when I say it, but, you know, Carol, David, Deb, Michael, all of the people that have been at the chamber have been so instrumental in getting some businesses, not just off the ground, but into that future state where they are able to be sustainable. It's getting them the right media contacts. It's making sure that they have advertising options. It's so many moving pieces. And one of the things that I really want to applaud and say it, you did that active listening. You continue to still do it. It's part of every post. It's you going out and asking business owners, what do I need to know more about in your business so that the chamber can better help you? We're so used to sometimes where a transition can happen at an organization, and then you go in and you sit in your office, and we might see a social post and that's it. But you've been out every single day. And I, as someone who lives here, as someone who's a member of the chamber, I really appreciate that. And it's made me see those new 150 businesses in a different way as another business too. So I look at that momentum as a patron and as a customer of the chamber, and I'm seeing that momentum too.
Well, and when we look at delivering value, so we're in the midst of a membership survey right now, and getting really good information that will help inform our future decision making. But that piece of being out there, listening and making connections, that's what we're hearing far and away, is the value that members want. It's why they joined, and it's the sole purpose. It's the primary purpose that they believe the chamber exists to serve, is how can we facilitate real business owner, business member to member connection? How can we promote each other's businesses? And that, as I'm out, so I had 67 meetings, largely owner-operators, in my first 100 days on the job, and then we've backed that with surveys. And I think just getting out and saying, I'd like to be part of the conversation, and let's figure out what the biggest problems are, and how can we convene
people
conversations.
Feel the lean in versus not being part of it.
Yep.
More than they'd feel it not, right?
Yep.
So you've obviously got a lot of fresh information, a lot of fresh data going through your mind. Still just 5 months into your new journey here. What are you hearing? What is the economic landscape of membership of the chamber? I mean, we know what kind of it's kind of an interesting perspective that we both share. You've got a very good understanding of very important local businesses of all size. And we're hearing what multinational businesses that operate every part of the world are hearing. So I'd love to try to jive them up and explain that to the listener today.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah.
And I brought, if folks are watching, I brought a stack of papers.
Oh, wow.
We have the facts. We have the chat logs.
Wow.
So some interesting data. So
secret files.
And this is a work in progress. We still have responses coming in that's only been out for a few days.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the overarching themes are that in this region, in the St. John region, we all need a good news story to get behind. We need a vision that is a collective vision that we can share and all see ourselves in, small business and in the large opportunities. And so what is special to our area that we can all leverage and that we can see ourselves in, and we can realize economic growth as well as a result, because we've got an $8 billion trade deficit in this province, meaning what we buy and bring in, the services and goods, exceeds what we sell outside the province. And that used to be equal.
Right.
And it's not. And so if we don't want to rely on federal transfers, gosh, we need to start selling more things.
Yeah.
And we need to help our small businesses. So small businesses need help to grow. Startup businesses need help to become viable. And solopreneurs and side hustlers, people who are happy working for themselves and don't necessarily want to manage a team, they need community, they need support, they need network to be able to be a practitioner and do what they do well. Themes around wanting a good news story to believe in, to celebrate successes and celebrate our wins. And if people's buying habits and the way we operate in the world has changed from a workforce labor perspective, from a consumption perspective, how do we adapt to those changes in society and still focus on local and delivering value for each other? Those are a couple of them. I literally could rhyme off a couple.
I'd love to hear more.
Okay, so some of our early data is that about 65% of chamber members have been in business for over 10 years. Wow. About 65% of them have 10 or fewer employees of the ones that we're hearing for. Their primary needs: connection, marketing, access to grants and funds. How do I finance business toolkit, and how do I finance my business? Those are some of the areas that they're struggling in. Marketing tops the list almost every time, from both capabilities and a desire to learn how to employ new technology to be able to meet demands. Financials with small business and solopreneurs comes up again and again. And lots of businesses we're talking to, that piece of the path to net zero and how do we become sustainable and inclusive means a lot to those businesses, but they're trying to figure out how to keep the lights on. And so understanding easy ways to live that is a challenge that's aspirational, but never makes it to the day-to-day because they're just looking at runway and they're just trying to grow their business. So that's some of the pieces. In most of the rooms that I'm in now, the port, the waterfront, we look this way and we all really want to be excited and see that vision and look at what are our energy resources and how can we leverage this asset to transform the region and the province as a whole.
Yeah, and if we're being kind of very open and candid, in this podcast, what we've created by putting the new infrastructure in place has that, and we talk a lot about this on the podcast. We've created economic activity through job creation in direct jobs. So the Longshore Union, the employees of DP World who now operate the potash terminal, which is a major dry bulk facility, the container terminal, it's all really good. We have more pilots, we have more tug operators, we have more people working on the rail line, but they are salaried jobs. They are working for these big companies. That's the economic activity we've created to date. And I've talked a lot with Envision and the province of New Brunswick about this. The amount of New Brunswick exporters shipping through the Port of St. John as a percentage of the volume would be at by far the lowest point in my 13 years. So the economic activity that's utilizing this port is very concentrated in central Canada and the U.S. Midwest, both of whom their economy is absolutely booming. If we look at our neighbors to the south, despite some of the challenges they have politically, which is always on display, their economy is in incredible shape. Our economy in Canada is if you peel back the population growth, which is very important and is tremendous, our GDP numbers are lagging, our productivity is lagging, and New Brunswick exporters do not exist in the same way they did 10, 20, 30 years ago. Yeah. And we see that at the port. So, and as someone from St. John, we're going to continue to grow, and we've got big plans for next year, but they're not inclusive of New Brunswick exporters because they don't exist. It's not like we have a door to go bang on and say, you should look at St. John as opposed to a U.S. East Coast port that you may be using as an alternative. They just don't exist. We're trying to touch the ones that do exist and show them the value proposition that we now have because of that balance of trade we've created. We have about as many imports as we have exports through the port right now, which is something we never had when it was all a truck-based service a decade ago as we were pre-modernization. But even though we have that balance and better rates, there's not a lot of customers to go to.
That's the thing, eh?
So,
it's a it's a real thing that is going to take a concentrated and collective desire, and people have to understand the information, right?
Yep.
You can say we've got less debt on the books and some money in the bank. Unless you dig deeper and deeper, you don't understand the real, that it really GDP growth is the real indicator of economic growth. But it's a whole other conversation.
It is, and that's why we've, Envision, we're very supportive of what they're doing, and I know, Tracy, you're probably going to jump in on this. What we want to see is an industrial park system. It's just one tool in your greater toolkit that you're talking about, but we want to see an industrial park system that connects into the 3 Class 1 railways that we now have connectivity to. Because if you don't have that rail connection, you are not going to incent foreign direct investment or other companies, or a new company that may be a startup looking at taking advantage of a manufacturing. If it doesn't connect into rail is such a key piece. You're not going to be competitive with Southern Ontario.
People won't go where there's a bottleneck.
No. And they won't handle the cargo more than once.
No.
We talked that a lot about. That's got to be handled just once.
And if we could be a leader in supply chain because of the different pieces that we have here, would be incredible. And really, if we look at our larger societal challenges around housing, healthcare, homelessness are the ones that keep popping up right now.
Yes.
If we could infuse a stronger economy, we'd have the strength. You can't get poor enough to help poor people. You have to. Can we address some of these challenges from a position of strength? Can we create more opportunity here to have good jobs, to help get people the supports that they need to be able to make these highly livable, vibrant, exciting communities that have all of the supports that people want to come here? Let's get more business. Let's bring business to the area.
That's why we promote so much the supply chain jobs, because the average worker on the waterfront in St. John, New Brunswick, their salary is well north of 6 figures, 100,000. The average wage in New Brunswick is slightly below 50,000. Mm-hmm. So there's a large discrepancy. So if we can create more of that, but that's only one piece, and we really almost need, as a province and as a region, to look at that comprehensive transportation, logistics, supply chain, even tourism strategy. Look at provinces like Quebec that have done this so well. They've got a whole maritime strategy. And then they couple air into it, so that you're looking at tourism from people that are flying in, people that are driving in, people that are coming in on cruise vessel through the St. Lawrence. That's one piece of their greater maritime strategy. Then they have all the supply chain jobs that are created with ports and airports and air cargo and different things. And they really, really do a phenomenal job. British Columbia does it well. We do not have that today in the province of New Brunswick. We have a lot of pieces, kind of operating to different levels of, kind of where they should be, and everyone's running in a different direction.
Yeah. A lot of work to do.
And it's tough to sift through as well, right? And I think, as a customer and in hospitality, as a patron in communities, I think we want prolific service, whether we're dealing with supply chains, whether we're dealing with a local restaurant, a local marketing company, a mechanic, whoever that is. So, one of the things that I've tried to do personally is try to make sure that no matter what our company is doing, try to give that prolific service. Leave it better than when the client visited you in the first place. And I think if you're not maybe doing that as a business, where there is a lot of oversaturation and there is a lot more competition, not just in St. John, but all over the world now. So if you're trying to compete in a small city, you really have to think, are my shipping routes going to be the best for my client? Does this make sense? Just because you can have a business doesn't mean you should open one. And I've learned that working as a consultant here in St. John for my whole life now, and really understanding how to give prolific service is looking at all of those strategies and making sure that people don't feel not communicated to, not part of a conversation, and not know where to get the resources when they want to be part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It makes so much sense. Yeah. I don't even know what I would add to that, because really, in the end, who do you exist to serve? How do you go above and beyond in serving them? Yeah.
And there's a place for everyone to be in the ecosystem, and it's important for us to feed one another, and to feel that anyone is doing the best job at something means that I don't think you're allowing for that ecosystem to thrive. So I think what I've seen and what I've learned here working like with the port over, and especially on the podcast, is really understanding what all this is, what it means, how it affects jobs, how it affects our economy, how it affects just walking by and thinking, oh, cruise ships just come here, and really digging into the data of what it does for our local businesses, why people would bring more flights and things here. It really does play into a bigger picture. But if you don't care about the bigger picture, then I think you leave it at that. But if you're a business or someone that's really looking to lean in and get some help, the chamber can 100% help you. Not a sales plug, but an actual fact to level up that prolific service. Whether you're serving steaks, whether you've got giant vessels, whatever that is, make sure that you're giving the absolute best service. And I think that service will also come. But people have to want to give it too. And it's hard. The days you're doing a lot of different things. There's fires being put out everywhere. There's things that happen, staff change. So I understand, especially in the small business world. I totally get it.
Absolutely. And that's the piece is you get into relationships and partnerships, business or otherwise, what you put into them.
Right.
And a sense that I get from so many small businesses, so owner operators, fewer than 10 employees,
Yep.
is the stresses of day-to-day operations have left them depleted.
Yeah.
And looking for something to aspire to and trying to figure out how to adjust to changing conditions or pivot or still trying to recover from a really difficult few years.
Yeah.
And so going above and beyond has been hard for them. And so I always believe if you do the work for someone to help them get to a certain place, or if you have an undeniable value proposition, if you create something so powerful and transformative that people will choose to be part of it. And we're not there at the chamber, but that's what I aspire to build, something that is true community, such that we all want to be together, because there's not a more powerful, influential, important place to be with respect to business.
That's
Very refreshing to hear.
Yeah. So what keeps you motivated? 5 months into this, what gets you most excited to get into the office or be out meeting people first thing in the morning?
So for me personally, entirely outside of my official role, learning like lights me up, and meeting extraordinary humans who are doing really interesting things in the world. I was talking to an entrepreneur yesterday who was talking about how this business owner is up and out at 3:30 in the morning. And I'm like, oh, how do you get lit up such that you're out the door and you're jumping out of bed in the morning? So personally, I'm meeting so many interesting people who have such diverse perspectives and experiences and all those things.
Yep.
Professionally, I like to build things. And so I believe that we're well positioned. I believe that we're well positioned at the chamber to take in, synthesize the information we're getting from lots of different directions, and to perhaps reimagine the value proposition that chambers traditionally hold, and build something here that both reflects the local economy and also something that other chambers might look at and say, gosh, I'd like to replicate that. And in that way, we almost become an export service as well, in the sense of being a best practice in innovation and doing what we exist to serve, like mandate for the chamber, help businesses make money, save money, reduce risk. And so I'd like to exemplify that within our own office, we're not for profit, but I mean, build something that illustrates, it's a lived example of best practices.
Absolutely.
For business.
And
so that lights me up.
Yeah.
With all of the active listening, like your entire team, the chamber is really just a giant plethora of meeting connections and facilitations of good and great things, because even just by hearing someone's question about maybe becoming a member, you understand what they need, you can connect them to a person that you know who may be a member or who you might be looking to get as a member, connecting the two of them and having results to allow them to get additional resources or to apply for a grant is something I've personally seen happen at the Chamber and especially during your time. So I just want to give kudos where it's due. And I think you're doing a really awesome job. And I'm so grateful that you're the CEO of the Chamber. I'm so excited to see what more that you continue to do. I mean, if this is 5 months in, like I'm really excited to see whatever the future state will exist from here, because like I said, I've lived here for 36 years. I'm really proud to live here. I've never moved. I probably won't. And I love seeing what's happening. Yeah. I know there's some things that we have to dig into more and work together more collectively to really make that a more positive place to live, work, and play. But thank you for all the work that you're doing. We're seeing a ginormous effect from it. So thank you, Tracy, for everything that you're doing and for taking the time to be here and be so candid about the work and the data that you're getting. Some people would choose not to share it and give us some really great sound bites, but I really appreciate that you are living and breathing, going out and meeting people every day. So thank you.
Thank you. The feeling of appreciation is mutual. This is an awesome place, and the potential to do something really powerful is there. So I'm excited to get to be part of the collective working to bring that about.
Yeah. And I'll say one thing. I think that, Tracy, that what your voice is going to add, and we hear a lot from our operators that work all over, and one thing they've noted about St. John is that all the great things that we just talked about, but they, one wise person, JC Chartrand, who's been on our podcast, said to me, do you guys actually believe, like St. Johners believe in the success that's probably coming, port and otherwise? And I don't think we do.
Yeah, I think we
want to.
Yeah.
But we don't.
Yeah.
And we got to reverse that.
And we will see a monumental leap.
Yeah.
The cork will pop up to the surface when that transition happens. Yeah. And I'm excited to be there. I'm excited to have you in this seat when it happens as well.
Thank you. Appreciate
and
that.
We'll do a part 2. We'll let you know
this needs a part 2. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, everyone who is tuning in, listening, wherever you're listening, who are watching. If you're watching on TV or through our YouTube channel, we really, really appreciate it. If you have any further questions for Tracy or any of the members at the Chamber, I encourage you to reach out. If you are a solopreneur, if you're someone who's looking to start a business, if you just have some questions around maybe some referrals around companies that you might be able to meet or work with, this is your person to chat with. So we'll put the links in our bio, and we'll make sure that you have all the resources. And thank you again, Tracy, for joining us today. And thank you all for listening and watching. Until next time, bye.
Thanks so much for listening.